better every day. Remember context, Shedeur. Many thought he'd be a first-round pick. He wasn't. Not a second, not a third, not a fourth. But in the fifth round, the Cleveland Browns, who had already drafted a quarterback in the third round, seemingly made the mind-blowing decision of drafting Shedeur Sanders. They said it was great value at that position in the draft. Well, we didn't think Shedeur was going to get all that many reps after all. He's a fifth-round pick. He's the fourth on the depth chart. The coaches, they came out and said it was going to be an open competition. Again, that's mind-blowing. Why in the world is a fifth-round quarterback, fourth on the depth chart, going to be openly competing with the pick you traded for in Kenny Pickett or a Super Bowl champ in Joe Flacco? But that's what the coaches said nonetheless.
You won't believe what's going on in Cleveland right now. While Kenny Pickett was supposed to be the reliable veteran, the safe bet, he wrapped to OTAs with a less than stellar 38 completions on 63 attempts. And just when you think that's the headline, a rookie, get this, a fifth round goes out there and throws 41 of 53 with 9 touchdowns, and he made it look easy. But folks, this isn't just about stats. What we're really seeing is a front office that may have accidentally tripped over the biggest draft steal of the decade. Meanwhile, the so-called seasoned quarterbacks, behind closed doors, it's panic mode. And now the coaching staff, they're starting to second guess who should really be getting those first team reps. I've followed the NFL long enough to recognize when a team's getting nervous, and let me tell you, Cleveland's quarterback room is feeling the heat. This isn't just some feel-good rookie storyline. This is a full-blown identity crisis for the Browns. Everything they thought they knew about their QB depth chart, it's unraveling. Let me break it down. You've got Joe Flacco, Super Bowl MVP, the guy brought in to be the steady hand. He finished OTAs with 18 completions on 35 attempts and only 2 touchdowns. That kind of stat line would get you benched in college, let alone the NFL. Then there's Kenny Pickett. Remember him? Former first-rounder Pittsburgh gave up on. Cleveland took a chance, thinking they got a bargain. Now he's out there throwing 38 for 63, trying to convince everyone he's still got juice left in the tank. But here's where it gets interesting. Enter Shedeur Sanders, rookie, fifth rounder, showed up as the fourth-string QB, and suddenly he's out there slinging passes like he's been running Kevin Stefanski's offense for years. And the media, they're barely talking about it. But when James Jones, former NFL wide receiver, now on the inside at the Browns facility, says his expectations for Sanders have completely changed, that's not just media spin. That's a former pro admitting, I got this one wrong. This might be more than just a camp surprise. It might be the start of a changing of the guard in Cleveland.
Since he got drafted, they have changed. Because when he got drafted, I stood up here and I believed you're a fifth rounder. They drafted a third rounder. They traded for a first round quarterback. They signed a veteran quarterback. I'm like, he's going to have an uphill battle to even make this team because I didn't think that he was even going to have the reps.
And get this. This is the same guy who just weeks ago said Shedeur Sanders probably wouldn't even make the final roster. Now, he's saying if the kid shows up in preseason, he ought to start week 1. Let that sink in. We're not talking about a top 10 pick here. Sanders is a fifth rounder, and yet there's serious talk that he might leapfrog 3 quarterbacks, 3, who were all slotted ahead of him on the depth chart when camp started. How often do you see that happen? I mean, really, when's the last time a late round pick came in and caused this kind of stir at the quarterback position before even taking a single NFL snap? But here's where it gets really interesting, the politics behind the scenes. AJ Hawk, who knows a thing or two about climbing the ladder as a later round guy himself, brought some real insight. See, when you're taken in the 5th round, you don't get the red carpet. You don't get handed reps or chances. The system just doesn't work that way. But suddenly Kevin Stefanski is standing at the podium talking about an open competition of 4 quarterbacks, 1 starting job. And you know what that says to me? It says the coaching staff saw something real on the practice field that made them stop and go, wait a minute. Because if this were really about draft status, Sanders would be buried on the scout team, just trying to stick around on the practice squad. That's the norm. Instead, he's out there taking real reps, getting time against the second-string defense, zipping balls into tight windows, making throws that have the coaches turning their heads like, "Did we just see what we think we saw?" And now the plot thickens even more. You've got multiple folks around the league starting to call out the elephant in the room, the lies, the politics, the quiet maneuvering behind closed doors. Even Jerry Jones didn't try to hide it. He openly showed interest in Sanders during the draft. Everybody knew the kid wasn't headed to Dallas, but Jerry made it clear this guy had something worth watching. And now Cleveland's realizing he just might be the real deal.
To start
and stop messing around with this thing.
And really quick, lied to is when somebody like is proven in front of you. Like, Jerry Jones didn't lie to you. You knew he wasn't coming in there to start over Dak. You know what I'm
The
saying?
Titans lied to us, for sure.
The Steelers did too.
The Titans lied to
The
us.
Saints did too.
Whether we know it or not, they lied to us. You feel me?
Well,
like
we
if
all
you know,
knew
if you
from
know your
when
son
the-
was out doing what he was doing, but no, Daddy, I was studying. It don't mean you don't know.
They've been saying
He's
Cam
still
Ward #1 pick the whole.
not there.
Let me say this up front, nobody expected Shedeur Sanders to take Dak Prescott's job, not even close. That was never the conversation. Though what's wild is how many teams, like the Titans and the Saints, flat out missiled everyone about their intentions. They talked a big game in the lead up to the draft, had folks speaking they were seriously considering Sanders early, and then, boom, took a hard left turn on draft day. They had no real plans. Smoke and mirrors, plain and simple. And now, looks like Kevin Stefanski might be pulling a similar move in Cleveland. On the surface, he's selling this idea of a four-man quarterback battle. It's an open competition, he says. But let me ask you this, who's the only quarterback not getting first team reps in OTAs? That's right, Shedeur Sanders. So either this competition isn't as open as they want us to believe, or, more likely, things are about to get very interesting come training camp. Let's get into what's really bothering the veterans in that locker room. It's not just that Sanders is completing passes, it's how he's doing it. We're talking about tight window throws, timing routes, sideline darts with NFL-level velocity and anticipation. The kind of throws you don't expect rookies, let alone fifth-round rookies, to make with this kind of consistency. That's when the veterans start hearing footsteps. That's when the alarm bells go off. And speaking of alarm bells, we need to talk about Joe Flacco. Flacco was brought in to be the adult in the room, the guy with the resume, the guy who's been there, done that. But right now, he's 18 for 35 in practice. That's not veteran savvy, that's just not getting it done. Not when you're a Shokes in a t-shirt with zero pressure. If your safe option is out here struggling to complete half his passes with no defense in his face, then you've got bigger problems. Now let's talk Kenny Pickett. One decent day, 8 for 11, and then back to the grind, 38 for 63 overall. That's a stat line that tells me he's pressing. He knows the rookie behind him is coming fast and making it look effortless. And here's where it gets even more intriguing. You're hearing folks compare Sanders to Caitlin Clark, and it's not some throwaway media thing. It's because both of them walked into their respective sports as rookies, expected to keep quiet, maybe get a few minutes, and just learn the ropes. But instead, they became the story. Overnight, the Browns haven't been relevant in a quarterback discussion in years. But suddenly, it's a new headline every day. And it's not about Flacco, not about Pickett. It's about Sanders. That's not coincidence. That's momentum. Now let's break out the numbers, because they tell a story stats alone don't usually reveal. Sanders, he's gone 41 for 53 with 9 touchdowns. That's not just efficient, that's elite. That's command of the offense level accuracy. And here's the kicker, he's doing all this with the second unit. No Amari Cooper, no Jerry Jeudy, no starting offensive line, just backup receivers, backup linemen, and he's still putting up numbers that frankly embarrass the guys ahead of him. Meanwhile, Dillon Gabriel, a third-round pick, goes 48 for 83. That's a 57.8% completion rate in practice, with no pass rush, when everything's supposed to be easier. And Sanders, sitting pretty at 77.4%, you do the math. That tells me when the real bullets start flying, when the pads come on and the lights get hot, the gap between Sanders and the rest of that quarterback room is only going to get wider. Which brings us to the elephant in the room. What happens if Sanders balls out in preseason? Right now, everyone in that building is trying to manage expectations, keep the spotlight dimmed. But what happens when this kid steps onto the field under the lights and starts making plays that get the crowd on their feet? What happens when those practice completions turn into game-winning drives? The pressure on this front office, this coaching staff, it's going to skyrocket. This is the Browns we're talking about. This is a franchise that hasn't had consistent quarterback play in decades. They've cycled through washouts and wasted picks like clockwork. And now, their best hope might be sitting there as a 5th-round pick, all while the guys they're paying millions to can't even crack 60% in a practice jersey. Look, I'll tell you what I think is happening behind the scenes. Stefanski and the staff are trying to walk a tightrope. Respect the vets. Avoid controversy. Keep the locker room calm. But every day Sanders takes the field, he's making that plan harder to stick with. Because talent doesn't care about seniority. It doesn't care about contracts or politics. You can't fake the way Sanders reads defenses. You can't teach the kind of anticipation he's showing. And when Deuce Staley says, they're in pajamas right now, I'll let you know when the pads come on. That's coach. Speak for, just wait. The kid's the real deal. What's not getting enough attention is Sanders' mental game. He's the underdog, the 4th guy on the depth chart. Every throw, every rep, it counts more for him than it does for Pickett or Flacco. He's not folding under the pressure, he's feeding off it. That's not something you can coach. That's the X factor. And here's the catch: training camp's going to move fast. Before you blink, it's preseason. Then it's week 1. If Sanders is going to get a real shot, it can't happen in August when the rotation's locked. It needs to happen now. He needs first team reps. Not when it's convenient, but while there's still time to build chemistry with the starters. And the fact that he hasn't seen those yet, that's either politics or fear of creating a media circus. But either way, they're playing a dangerous game, because talent, real talent, has a way of making you change plans. If you're Kenny Pickett, you feel it. Every clean spiral Sanders throws, every big play, every ooh from the sideline, you feel it in your gut. He already got the boot from Pittsburgh. Now he's trying to reset his career while a rookie is outshining him in every drill. Joe Flacco, he's a Super Bowl champ. No one's taking that away, but he knows what time it is. Every wobbly pass is a reminder that the clock's running out, and now he's got a 22-year-old making the throws he used to make look easy. Let's stop pretending. If Sanders keeps doing what he's doing, the Browns will be forced to make a call. And that call is coming sooner than anyone expected, because when a kid from the 5th round starts showing franchise quarterback traits, the whole organization starts asking, how do we miss this? How soon can we hand him the keys? The Dak Prescott comparisons, they're real. Dak was supposed to sit, learn, wait his turn. But Romo went down and Dak never gave the job back. We could be looking at a very similar situation in Cleveland, but maybe even more compelling, because Sanders isn't just beating out career backups. He's outperforming guys who were brought in to start. That's a different kind of conversation. So here's what I'm watching heading into training camp. Does Sanders finally get those first team reps? Because if he does, and he keeps playing like this, we're not going to be asking, can he make the roster? We're going to be asking, when does he take over the huddle? And if I'm Kenny Pickett or Joe Flacco, I'm not sleeping easy, because a 5th round rookie is turning heads and doing it without breaking a sweat. And for the first time in a long time, it feels like the Browns might have something real at quarterback. Not a recycled starter, not a stopgap, a young, talented, confident leader who's ready to step in and rewrite the narrative. The question isn't whether Sanders has the talent. We've seen that 4 win for 53 with 9 touchdowns says it all. The question is whether the Browns have the guts to start their best guy, regardless of where he was drafted. And if they don't, it might just be the biggest mistake this franchise has made in years. But I've got a feeling we won't need to worry about that, because talent like this doesn't stay hidden for long. And Cleveland, you might just be about to witness the beginning of something special. The countdown to training camp has begun. Buckle up. And hey, drop your thoughts in the comments. Is Sanders about to pull off the biggest surprise of the season? I want to hear what you think. Hit that like button, make sure you're subscribed, and stick around. This quarterback battle, it's just getting started.